Hello everyone. Today we are here for the last topic of our chapter 1, that is post fertilization events. Let's proceed. Post fertilization events. So the events that takes place after fertilization and formation of zygote, means after zygote is formed, after the process of fertilization is completed, such events are called post fertilization events. Okay. It includes two parts. One is zygote formation, another is embryogenesis. Let us study the first stage, that is zygote formation. So after fertilization, see, fertilization involves male gamete and female gamete. So male and female gamete on fusion or fertilization. After fertilization, both male gametes are always haploid. I already discussed with you. Haploid gametes on fusion or fertilization convert into zygote, which is diploid in state. Okay, zygote is diploid in state. And zygote is the only vital link that ensures continuity of species between organisms of one generation and the next. This can be your MCQ question also. So what is the vital link that ensures continuity? It is zygote of species between organisms of one generation and the next. Now development of zygote will depend on type of life cycle of the organisms as well as the environment. If it is fungi and algae, zygote will undergo a resting period before the state of germination. The thick wall is formed around it which prevents it before desiccation and damage. So according to life cycle, there are three categories. We have studied this in 11th standard, that is haplontic, diplontic and haplodiplontic. If it is an haplontic life cycle, zygote will divide by the process of meiosis. Why? Because haploid spores are being formed. So haplontic to form haploid spores. And you know, in the state of meiosis, what happens in meiosis? It is equational. It is a state where chromosome number divide into half. So haploid spores are being formed, and these haploid spores grow into haploid individuals. Okay. Next is diplontic life cycle. Zygote will divide by mitosis. Now why diplontic? Because you are forming a diploid individual now. Okay. So we have to form diploid embryo. So zygote will be being converted into embryo, which is diploid in nature. An entire embryo diploid, it will be transformed into a diploid individual. Next is haplodiplontic life cycle. First of all, haplodiplontic life cycle means zygote will first undergo mitotic division. This mitotic division will form a diploid sporophytic stage. Now why diploid? Because zygote is always diploid, and mitosis is the phase of equational division, means equal number of chromosomes, right? So it will form diploid sporophyte, that is 2n. Now this sporophytic stage will now be converted into gametophytic stage by the process of meiosis. Sporophytic stage will form spores which are haploid. Diploid sporophyte will form haploid spores by the process of meiosis. Spores will again undergo mitosis and it will form haploid gametophyte, and this haploid gametophyte will now form haploid gametes. So it will flip from sporophyte to gametophyte. Both the stages will be clearly seen. This we have already studied in standard 11th. Okay, haplodiplontic life cycle. Here just we have to study the number of chromosomes. So from diploid sporophyte to haploid gametophyte, and from haploid gametophyte, haploid gametes will be formed. Okay. Next phase of division, that zygote formation is completed. Next is embryogenesis. So after zygote is formed, it gets converted into embryo. So process of development of embryo from zygote. So after zygote is formed, being converted to embryo, such process is called embryogenesis. Now embryogenesis involves two stages, that is cell division and cell differentiation. Cell division, if it occurs by mitosis, if cell division occurs, it is to increase the number of cells. And cell differentiation, that is for formation of different types of tissues and organs. Okay. Now there are two stages of embryogenesis, that is cell division and cell differentiation. So types of animals on the basis of site of zygote formation, there are two categories of animals. One is oviparous and one is viviparous. Oviparous animals are also called as monotremes. Okay. So oviparous animals means those who lay eggs, and viviparous means those who give birth to the young ones. Okay, so this is a simple logical difference between oviparous and viviparous. Let's study in detail. Animals in which development of zygote takes place outside the female parent, that is in the form of eggs. Okay, outside the female parent, such animals are called oviparous. Animals in which development of zygote takes place inside the female parent, that is the embryo is growing within the female parent, and then the female parent will give birth to the fetus. Such animals are called viviparous. Oviparous animals lay fertilized eggs which are covered with hard calcareous cell. The shell is made up of hard calcium, okay, in a safe place in an environment. Example, reptiles and birds. They come under the category of oviparous. Viviparous means after attaining certain period of growth, the young ones are delivered outside the female body. Female body gives birth to the new individuals. Example, majority of mammals. Now what happens in eggs? After a certain period of incubation, the young ones will hatch out from the egg. So after incubation, hatching, hens and all, they hatch their eggs, right? So after hatching, the young ones will come out from the eggs after the calcareous cell is broken down, and chances of survival are less because they are easily eaten up by predators or they are not safe in the environment, right? And whereas in viviparous, the chances of survival of young ones are very high. Why? Because it is protected within the body of female parent. Now this was all regarding animals. Now what happens in plants, let us study. In flowering plants, what happens? Zygote is formed inside the ovule. Zygote will be formed inside the ovule, okay? After fertilization, ovule converts to seed, ovary converts to fruit, and the remaining parts of the flower will fall off. Flower is a reproductive organ in the plants. So ovule is being converted to seed, ovary is transformed to fruit, and remaining parts are fallen off. In some plants, what happens? Sepals remain attached to the developing fruit. You must have observed in tomatoes, the green leafy structures remain attached, right? In brinjal, yes, the green leafy portion is attached, right? So they are called, sepals are remaining attached in tomato and brinjal. Wall of the ovary. The wall of the ovary now becomes the wall of the fruit, and it is called pericarp. What do we call? Pericarp. And pericarp, the function of pericarp is protective. It protects. Now when the seeds mature, they are dispersed. In favorable conditions, the seed will germinate, okay, and they will form new plants. So let's have a look at figure 1.8 of your textbook. See, seeds are present inside and the wall is called the pericarp. Okay, pericarp is protective in function. Wall of the fruit. Inside seed and the wall of the fruit. Seed, pericarp. Seed, pericarp. Okay, inside it is seed and outside it is protected covering. It is called pericarp. Alright. So with this topic of post-fertilization events, we complete our chapter 1 of standard 12. Stay tuned for more updates, and if you have any queries or any doubts, do inform me. See ya.